Hi, I'm Sareta Puri. I'm a plant-based chef and teacher, and I'm really excited to be joining Eating Better to celebrate Diwali through some delicious plant-based recipes that we're making today at the Hackney School of Food. We're going to start with the potatoes for the Aloo Chaat. So you're using about 200 grams, and the most important thing once you've washed the potatoes is you do not need to peel these because they add a nice flavour and texture to them. And then when you're chopping them, you want them to be bite-sized. So I would say 1.5 centimetres or so on, about this big. And then I would always chop them in half, place the flat half down on your board, because otherwise if you do it any other way, that's going to start moving around and that's dangerous. And then just make sure that your fingers are out of the way. So you can chop down the middle like this, and then you can chop along them. And then you can see there the sort of size there, sort of bite-sized chunks. And then you put them into your pan of water that is coming to the boil. Now you just want to boil these until they are soft. So that'll probably take, depending on the size you've chopped them into, will take about 10 minutes. So cucumber is traditionally a salad using red onion, cucumber and tomato, and then flavoured with some fresh mint, fresh coriander, lemon juice, and then lightly spiced with garam masala and salt. So you can use this and just have that as a salad on its own, or you can use it in this recipe as well. With this recipe, it's important to get the proportions right between your vegetables, your cucumber, your onion and your tomato. You don't want to have too much onion, and you want to get a really nice balance of those colours. So do the cucumber recipe by eye and make sure you've got a nice balance of tomato, red onion and cucumber. So I'm going to start with the cucumber. Now again, always chopping the cucumber into a flat surface. And some people like to de-seed their cucumber, but I like to have as minimal waste as possible. So I keep all the seeds in, and I also keep the skin on. As long as your fruits and vegetables are well washed before you use them, you do not need to waste those lovely peels. You want to be cutting this into quite small, maybe like 0.5 centimetre cubes. And again, don't worry if you don't quite get them all the same size. I would go lengthways, and then I'll go into it like this. And I'll show you it nice and slowly so that you can see that. So now we're going to do the red onion. I'll probably only use about 1/4 of this. So I'm going to chop the top off. And then what I normally do is from this root part, I would cut through that, because that gives you a little bit of sturdiness, which means that the onion isn't going to slip around the place. And I'm probably going to use around this much here. So I'll put that to the side, and then you can hopefully see that that's nice and small. So I've got one quite large tomato here, or you can use 2 medium ones. And again, getting it on its side. And then for dicing this, you quite a sharp knife to go in like this way. And then I would go down, 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 and then you can chop into it that way. And then that way you can sort of get quite even sized diced pieces, and then you can just cut through any that are slightly larger. And again, with a tomato, I wouldn't normally take out the seeds. There might be bits that are like super seedy like this that you decide you don't want. That's fine, you can get rid of them. But they just add a nice juiciness to this salad. So now that you've got your cucumber, tomato and red onion all chopped, we're going to put it into the bowl to combine. Once you've combined your veg into here, you're going to get your herbs ready. So we're going to use fresh mint. Now the stalk of mint is very thick, so you do not want to use that. So you will have to pick your mint leaves off, and then we will chop them. And then you are going to use your coriander. Now with the coriander, I would keep the stalks on it, but if you don't want to use the stalks here, put them to one side and add them into your coriander chutney later on. And again, make sure that your herbs are all washed. And then I normally just chop into the herbs and then sort of pouch them back together and keep going. And again, with those stalks, that's why you can leave them in there, because you're cutting it all quite fine, that they won't be too chewy or anything. And once you've done your herbs, we're just going to add them into the bowl as well. And then finally into the bowl goes our seasoning. So we have, first of all, 1 teaspoon of garam masala. Then we're just going to use a little pinch of salt. And then finally, I've already juiced half a lemon, so then that's going to go in here too. And then we're just going to give that a mix. And this is where you can look at the colour ratio, and you might decide that you want a little bit more red in there, so you put some more tomatoes, or that you want more onion in there. But I'm thinking that's looking pretty good balance of our red and our green there. So we're just going to put that to one side, and then we will make the next step. So once your potatoes are boiled, you want to drain them, and you want them to be a little bit fluffy. And then we're going to add into that our kalinamak, which is black salt, which would give it a nice sort of sulphurous flavour, as well as a tiny spot of asafoetida, which is known as hing as well in Indian cooking. And then a pinch of salt if you need it here. And then you can just give that a little bit of a mix. And that's just to give it lightly spiced, lightly flavoured. And if your potatoes are still a little bit warm, I would put them in the fridge just to bring them down to temperature whilst we finish off the next step in the recipe. To make our coriander chutney, we're going to use a big bunch of fresh coriander, ginger, fresh ginger and fresh garlic. Now if you don't have fresh ginger or fresh garlic, you can use ground ginger and garlic granules. We're also going to use fresh chilli. You can leave chilli out if you don't like chilli, or you can use chilli flakes or chilli powder. We've got some ground cumin and a little bit of salt. And then to give it a nice zesty flavour, we've got some fresh lemon juice, which you can also substitute for lime juice. And then to help it all blend together, just a little bit of water. What I'm going to do with this coriander is I'm just going to roughly pull it apart with my hands, just because that sort of saves the blender doing it. And you can chop it as well, but you can just sort of tear it as you go and just push that all into the blender. Once you've got your coriander in here, you can put the rest of your ingredients in. Now I'm going for a whole clove of garlic. If you don't like it too garlicky, you can use less. Or if you're using ground garlic, use about half a teaspoon. And then ginger, about half an inch of ginger. Now the way I know what an inch is it's this bit of your finger apparently, so it's about half that size of your thumb. And again, if you're not using fresh ginger, you can use ground ginger, about half a teaspoon. And I'm using 1 whole fresh chilli. If you do not like it too spicy, you can chop the chilli in the middle and remove the seeds. Or you can use half a chilli or leave it out, and you can also use a little pinch of chilli flakes or ground chilli. And then finally for our seasoning, we've got a teaspoon of ground cumin, a tiny dash of salt, and I would put in the salt, then add a bit more salt to taste, juice of half a lemon, and you can use the lemon juice you get in a bottle as well. And then I'm going to just put a splash of water in now, start the blending, and then add more water as we need. So when this is blended, if you want it to be a little bit thinner, you can just add a little bit more water, maybe like 1 spoonful at a time. And then if it feels like it's too runny, you can always just add a little bit more fresh coriander to thicken it out. Now it's time to build our aloo chaat. So because it's Diwali, we're going to do it a communal celebration style. You can serve it in the middle of your table and everyone can help themselves to spoonfuls on their plate. Alternatively, you can plate this up individually and everyone can have that as a starter or a side dish. But let's do it party style today. So first up is our cucumber salad. That's going to go on the bottom. And we're going to build that all up there. And then what we're going to do is add our potatoes on the top. And then we've got our dressings and our toppings. So earlier we made this lovely bright green coriander chutney. We're going to drizzle that all over the top. We also have date and tamarind chutney. Now you can make this from scratch, however it's super easy just to buy the store-bought version, and I've put mine into a sauce bottle just so we can get that really nice dribble effect, but you can just pour it onto or have it at the side if it's not to everyone's taste. Same with coriander chutney as well. And then just to add a little bit of party celebration and colour, we've got pomegranate seeds. And then this is called sev. So sev is made from gram flour. They're little sort of noodle type shapes, and they're quite popular in snacks like Bombay mix. So you might have seen them there, but you can buy these in the Asian store on their own, and they come in the small version like this, or you can get the bigger ones and the chunkier ones. So just choose what size you want. So with the coriander chutney, we're just gonna like dribble a little bit of that across the top. Then a drizzle of date and tamarind chutney, which is really nice if you have it in a sauce bottle, but it doesn't matter if you don't. Then a liberal sprinkling of pomegranate seeds, which look quite nice. That's going to give you your fruity element there. And then for a bit of crunch, we have our sev. And this is super popular in a lot of Indian party foods. And then finally, if you want a little bit more coriander, you just add a few leaves on the top. And there we have our delicious, colourful aloo chaat ready for our Diwali feast.